Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Just to let you know, we'll start the presentation about 1 minute. Hello again. We'll start the presentation in about 30 seconds. Thank you once again for joining us. An official hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Safety and Health Magazine webcast, Identifying Hazards and Improving Hand Protection, Reducing Hand Injuries, and Improving Worker Safety, sponsored by Superior Glove. This is Alan Ferguson. I'm Associate Editor at Safety and Health and co-host of the On the Safe Side podcast, and I'll be moderating today's event. Thank you once again for joining us, and before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items. As a disclaimer, the views of today's speaker and organization are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the National Safety Council or Safety and Health magazine. Any mention of a commercial enterprise, product, or publication does not mean the Council of the magazine endorses those items. After today's presentation, we'll conduct a question and answer session with our speaker. If you have a question, click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, type your question, and press the send button. We welcome your questions at any time during today's event. You don't have to wait for the Q&A to begin. We might not get to every question, but the good news is unanswered questions will be forwarded to today's sponsor. Also, after this presentation, you'll be asked to complete a brief evaluation survey, and I'll tell you more about that a little bit later. Also, just to let you know, this webcast will be archived, so you can access it after today's live event to view this webcast and all of our past webcasts. Please visit safetyandhealthmagazine.com/events, or you may also receive a link in our post-event email. With that, let's introduce our speaker. With us today is Kate Crespo. Kate is the Hand Safety Program Manager at Superior Glove and brings more than 20 years of experience as a strategic account manager in the manufacturing vertical. She focuses on providing a program that helps organizations understand the whys around the right PPE for each hazard. Kate, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the webinar today. Today, we're going to look at identifying hazards and improving hand protection and how you can reduce those hand injuries and improve your worker safety. Again, my name is Kate Crespo. I am the Hand Safety Program Manager with Superior Glove. I've been here just about 5 years, and this hand safety program really means a lot to me, and we've seen such great results with it. So who are we? We were founded in Canada in 1910. We're a family-owned and operated company since 1961. We're also the lead innovator in hand safety and top North American glove manufacturer. We have 4 company-owned and operated manufacturing plants in Canada, Honduras, and the US. And then we also have distribution centers across Canada, USA, and Mexico. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what we do. If you don't already know us, you've probably guessed from our name that we make gloves. And we've been doing this since about 1910. In the hand safety industry, we're known for being the lead innovator. It's our obsession with solving problems that has led Superior Glove to have one of the most extensive product offerings in the hand protection category. We have a glove for just about any application you can imagine, no matter how unique or extreme. So why hand safety? Why are we on the call today? Hand injuries are the #1 preventable workplace injury. While there's no shortage of glove styles on the market, workers are still getting injured. And so surprisingly, as this may sound for a company that makes gloves, we don't see PPE as that silver bullet solution for reducing hand injuries. It's about a lot more than that. It's about culture, it's about motivation, it's about leadership, and it's about wearing those right gloves for the right task. We've seen this slide before, but if we don't focus on the bigger picture, workers will continue to get injured. And when that happens, the costs aren't just personal, they're financial, and they add up pretty fast. But workers' compensation costs are just one piece of that. There's indirect costs like training replacements, administrative time, and accident investigations that often add up to much, much more than what you're seeing on the screen. So when considering the cost of a glove, most people focus on the purchase price, but overlook the cost of choosing the wrong glove. So as you can see here, you can see the accidents and serious injuries on the top of that line where we can see that iceberg. And then those unreported voluntary reporting underneath the surface. And as much as 69% of injuries and illnesses can go unreported. And especially with gloves, when you're looking at that, they might not let you know, oh, well, I got a poke today, or yes, my glove tore, but that's just part of my job. That's what I do. I hear that every every time I'm out on the floor. I hear stories like that. But these indirect costs can include time and money spent on investigating an accident, lost worker productivity training, employee replacement, or damage to overall morale, which can lead to absenteeism and the deterioration of the company's goodwill amongst workers, and in some cases, even the public. So here are some of our safety program findings. I've done close to 200 of these in the past 5 years with various different industries. And, first of all, we see lack of organizational direction and emphasis. So we don't see hand injury prevention policies, signage, communication on the procedures. We see inconsistency between traumatic and long-term exposure, hand safety prevention. So, a lot of people are looking at cut, abrasion, but they're not really looking at carpal tunnel or vibration white finger. Those are the things that we really can start to uncover when we work through the discovery process. Poor glove policies. Oh, you've got to wear a glove, but there's no signage stating what glove is required. There's no site minimum standards for protective levels. And then there's nothing for employees, visitors, or suppliers. So sometimes I'll see site minimum standards for an employee, but there's nothing for people coming on site, like construction workers or visitors or vendors. One of the things that I had worked with at a site was housekeeping. So because they didn't have a site minimum standard or gloves weren't to be worn at all times, and this was a heavy manufacturing plant. Housekeeping was actually one of their biggest hazards because somebody would just go pick up a widget off the floor or a piece of scrap off the floor that was sharp, and they should have been wearing gloves. So it's something small like that you don't see every day that could really help with your safety culture and your safety program for hands. And then outdated procedures of what arm and hand protections needed for the task. So when a new hazard was introduced, was the procedure updated? And employee awareness. So lack of knowledge by the employee as to all the hazards that they are exposed to. Lack of knowledge of the actual protection of their current hand and arm PPE. Um, you know, Going over this with your employees can really make that trust factor go up, 100% if they're actively involved in, the PPE that they're wearing. Um, you know, Sometimes we see lack of knowledge around the whys of the right glove, right task. And this can be solved by just giving some glove and sleeve training. Some other things that we look at and pay attention to when we're out on site is, that workers choose gloves based on comfort versus protection. Sometimes they're not wearing the right protection, improper hand placement. I see this quite often. And then for those repetitive tasks, not carrying out hand exercises. Um, Lack of belief that accidents are preventable. I'm sure I hear that just about every time I'm out on site. Or I'm careful, I'll never get hurt. I have a quick story around this. I was on site at a paper manufacturer, and we were in the dye room, and they were dealing with doctor blades. And the supervisor mentioned, well, I asked the supervisor, hey, I don't see any cut gloves, anywhere in the room here. And he's just like, use those exact words. I am careful. I'm not going to get hurt. I'm a butcher in my off time. I work with knives all the time. I know how to handle knives. Well, he also had, 6 people underneath him in that room. And so I explained that it doesn't matter whether it's 10 seconds, 30 seconds, whether you're doing it 4 times a day or once a month. Gloves need to be used when handling those doctor blades. And after we've had the conversation, I think, the whys around it really helped him understand that, he was responsible also for his team. So just, some training around the whys can really help in that I'm careful, I'll never get hurt situation. Um, and believe it or not, availability is a big one that I see when I come out. So whether you're vending, you have a warehouse, you have a tool crib, what we see many times, especially now with more and more women coming into heavy manufacturing, is lack of right sizing. So, I'll be watching somebody do a task, and I can see that the ends of the glove are kind of flapping. And I ask, the person, hey, is this glove fitting you? And they're like, no, but we don't have any other sizing. So we help with that when it comes to a safety program. Sometimes people aren't wearing protection sleeves. Sometimes the excuse is, hey, it's too hot. We can't find one that actually works for the situation. A good hand safety program will include those sleeves as well. Back of the hand protection, sometimes we find that the employees aren't really talking about the fact that they're hitting the back of their hand, but once we stand there and watch the task, we see that. So we can help with hand protection there as well. And then last but not least in this category is lack of stock. So making sure that you're working with a partner, whether it be a distributor, and the distributor and manufacturer, that can look at what your forecast is and your lead times. So that once you do roll out a robust hand safety program, that you're never going to run out of the stock of that glove. So these are some of the things that we check when we come out on site is cut, impact, and then we also have abrasion, heat, and puncture. So many times the sites that I go out to, they're really focused on cut, but at the end of our assessment, what we see is it's more abrasion rated or puncture rated than it was just the cut. So what is the root cause? Is it an actual slice across the hand, or did they get poked and then it ripped through the glove? So what we do, and we recommend our end users do, is actually have a template for a glove for each task. So you're not just saying, okay, I need A4 across the board. That's great. That's a great first step. However, in certain situations, you may need a more robust abrasion or less, or maybe you'll need more in puncture. So we really focus on these standards when we're in on site, and we help you with that template. So unlike other manufacturers, we view safety through the same hierarchy of controls as the safety professionals employ. Um, it's very interesting when I'm out on site. I've been to thousands of heavy manufacturing sites, so I'm very well versed in various hazards and things that are out on the floor. So having that extra set of eyes helps me bring that in to your team. And these are some of the ways that we can help. So we support our customers with the knowledge and resources they need to effectively use the products that we sell within the context of a larger safety program. And here's how we do that. So, elimination is the process of removing hazards entirely from the workplace is considered the most effective way to protect workers from injury as the hazards are no longer present. Substitution, when a hazard cannot be eliminated from the worker's environment, we consider substitution. Just as the name suggests, substitution is replacing materials or pieces of equipment with those that are less hazardous. If a certain hazard cannot be eliminated or substituted, the next best option is to use engineering controls. Engineering controls help offer protection to workers by isolating them from hazards that can lead to injuries. Administrative controls include things like operation-specific regulations, work schedules that reduce exposure to hazardous tasks, and systems that increase workers' hazard awareness. Under the administration controls, there's another when we found when we were working with the government in particular, there's sometimes ordering administrative controls. So I was in this one government location, and there were five different levels. So once that worker or end user said, "Okay, I need this piece of PPE," it would go to his supervisor. Then from the supervisor, it would go toward the company to the company's site. Then from the company's site, it would go toward GSA. And then after GSA, it would go to the distributor that was in charge of that process. So what would happen is once it got to GSA and it wasn't in stock or it wasn't on GSA, they would say, okay, here's a like substitution. So by the time it got approved through the distributor and the distributor sent it back to the supervisor didn't realize that he was approving something that wasn't the right glove for the right task. He was just signing it and saying, okay, send us whatever you got. So when I had started working with this organization, we ask for a safety questionnaire just to kind of see where you're at, just so we know what's going on. And they had on there non-compliance. So after 4 or 5 interviews with the employees, I realized that it wasn't non-compliance. I realized that there was a miscommunication. So at the end of the day, we fixed this issue internally within 2 weeks, and we had 98% of those glove wearers or those employees wearing gloves. So, there's so many things that can fall under administrative controls, and we really try to dig deep when we're out on sites to give you that extra pair of eyes and knowledge. So, of course, PPE is considered the final shield when all other shields have failed. Safety managers and workers often forget to consider the other important control measures discussed above when they rely solely on PPE. This asks more of their PPE because the hazards are higher and they're fighting more hazards than they need to. So we suggest to be a tourist in your own company. Here are some tips when you can, and you can apply those to the hierarchy of safety. So, be a tourist in your own company and see your workers with fresh eyes. The goal is not to manage or supervise, but to understand the day-to-day routines that put workers' hands at risks. Immerse yourself in the worker experiences. Follow them throughout their workday. Observe their tasks and interactions with their environment. One thing I like to add here is in many heavy manufacturing facilities, they're often cross-trained as well. So it's not like you just follow them through one task. There may be other tasks that they're doing throughout the day where they might be switching up gloves. Making sure that you're documenting those things as well is very important, especially to that particular worker that's cross-trained. And then use of, the photos captures various aspects of workers' tasks, their tools, and their workstations, so that not only you can review those later, but if you're going to the C-suite and you're asking for a change in gloves or you're asking for some of these action items with a hierarchy of controls, you have that documentation so that it's not just you're not just speaking, you actually have photos of what you're looking at. So homemade signs, I see these all the time. Spontaneous notes and messages on the wall or by a particular piece of machinery. Um, Believe it or not, these can actually serve as valuable indicators of safety issues. So they often emerge when workers feel the official guidance isn't sufficient or confusing, revealing some areas that might need more attention. Um, so when you encounter these signs, analyze them for patterns and common themes. This can help identify systemic failures or gaps in safety protocols, allowing for the strengthening of the existing safety measures and communication channels. So, look and feel is very important. I get this all the time when I go out on sites, um, they're like, okay, we're willing to try, anything, we're willing to try, but we just don't want something that's uncomfortable. We've got to wear these sometimes 12 hours a day. So if you're introducing something to your team, comfort really does matter. If it doesn't fit correctly, if it's bulky, if it's uncomfortable, they're not going to wear it. So even if it's the right glove for the right task, even if it's what's called out in ANSI standards, if it's not comfortable and you really can't get them to buy into that glove, then they won't wear it anyway. Style also plays a role. When gloves look good and feel good, workers are more likely to wear them, obviously reducing injury risk. If they're very thin and very dexterous and very comfortable, they're not taking them off as often either. So if they can use it with a touch screen, if they can do things like that, the longer you can keep that glove on a hand, the more protected they're going to be. So it's good to get an outside perspective to look for hidden dangers. Workers see some risks, managers see, those same risks and maybe some others, but having an outside expert provide fresh eyes is very, very valuable. Um, Obvious hazards get the attention, but hidden risks are often overlooked as both workers and managers become accustomed to them. A great hand safety program helps companies discover those hazards. So our hand safety program consists of 4 steps to eliminate and reduce injuries. We discover, we assess, we report, and then we finally deploy. So during the discovery process, um, it involves working with the safety manager to determine if the program is a good fit. We're not always a good fit. So we accomplish this by using a safety questionnaire that helps us understand current hand safety practices and where they want to be in the future. During this discovery phase, we walk them through the questionnaire. We identify any areas where they may need improvement. This helps us tailor the hand safety program to meet their specific requirements and achieve the desired level of hand safety. So you may have a very robust program, but there's just a couple areas like maybe that template. Maybe you're very good on cut, but you still need that help getting that right glove for the right task with abrasion and puncture. Um, the discovery phase is crucial to the success of a hand safety program because it ensures that we're providing a solution that is aligned with your goals, with your objectives and priorities, ultimately helping, you achieve those goals and then keep your workers safe. We then come out and conduct an on-site visit and work closely with the employees, teammates, and associates to ensure that they are using the right gloves for the right tasks. So before we come out on site, we'll let our EH&S managers know that, we'd love to see a couple people per role or task or department. Um, that way we can get a couple, we don't just want one, we want a couple of ideas and maybe even a couple different shifts. That's important to make sure you include all the shifts when you're assessing, if at all possible. Um, then we review the facility's hierarchy of controls, which includes, again, having those extra set of eyes to identify any safety issues beyond PPE, and emphasize that PPE should always be that last line of defense. The more layers of defense you have, the safer the workplace. So the report is very robust, and this is where my EH&S managers, I get thank yous, high fives, fist bumps, and then referrals off of the actual report because after we come in and we do the analysis, the customer will receive a report detailing what was observed during the assessment and gloves to run a trial. At the heart of our hand safety program is this PPE trial process. So we want to make sure that the gloves that we're handing out are the right gloves for the tasks. We want to make sure that when we hand them out, they actually fit the employees. We'll talk to them. We take on that responsibility of tracking the data for selecting the right PPE to ensure that those gloves are effective and meet the employees' needs. Our focus on feedback ensures that we provide the best possible hand protection for your team. Our hand safety program includes an evaluation process as well. So you'll get that full-blown report with every task that we've looked at. The report could be anywhere from 30 pages long to 80 pages, depending on what we're looking at for tasks. We come back in, we hand out personally those PPE to each one of those people that we talk to, making sure that the glove is, what they were expecting and will work for their application. Then the third visit, we come back and we bring all those gloves and those evaluation pieces back in to make sure that none of those gloves were put in a situation that they shouldn't have been in. We check the wear and tear in the glove to make sure, hey, it lasted like it should have. And then when reporting to a C-suite or any of your colleagues, it's so much easier to have that report in hand and the evaluation forms from the employees that states exactly why they didn't like the glove they were using before, or maybe they did like the glove they were using before, and what they would like to move to, or why they'd like to move to a different piece of PPE. So having all this is it just helps make your program more robust, and it also helps give you an additional leg to stand on when it comes to presenting out to your team. So it's never, mission accomplished, but we always say deploy. So after launching our hand safety program, we continue to partner with our clients to ensure they're using the right gloves correctly and safely. I can't tell you how many times I've been back in and, we did our due diligence, we've done everything we needed to do, but we were missing that one piece of a task that we either didn't get to see on site or maybe it was something they did every 6 months. So we can either pivot to a different glove or add an additional glove in for that task that they were only doing once every 6 months. So as part of this partnership, you should be able to come to your um, manufacturer and say, hey, um, do you have any ideas of how we can help with this new process that we're going through? And do you have any training around this? So we do offer training as well. So we can help support you on your safety days or your safety stand down weeks. Our goal is not only to provide high quality gloves, but we want to support our customers in maintaining a culture of hand safety that, protects their workers and boosts productivity. So like I said, it's never mission accomplished. Safety can't be a situation dependent enforcement. Standardized policies are required. Regularly reassess policies, metrics, and training. Change what happens. It's going to happen slowly with a consistency over the years. So it's not going to happen super fast, but just be consistent about it. And the mission really requires integrated and then organization-wide buy-in. So it can't just be the people on the floor saying, okay, I know this is what I need. It needs to go all the way up through the organization. So how can we help? So you can learn more about hand safety in our revised and expanded version of the Rethinking Hand Safety book. It is available to whoever wants it digitally. It's not about PPE. So I actually like the book. I've read it several times. Um, it's about how real safety managers have affected change within their organization and reducing hand injuries by 50 to even 90% in some cases. We also have these industry specific hand safety guides for more help. So as you can see on here, there's a steel mill, HVAC, construction, oil and gas, sawmill, and underground mining. We also have a mining as well for above ground. Um, and glove boards. So I don't have a picture of the glove boards here, but once you do get the PPE straightened around your sleeves, maybe some baklavas, your gloves, we can actually help you with a glove board that you can put on your vending machine in your warehouse. Um, or maybe in the tool crib. Or maybe it's a specific department that uses 6 or 7 different gloves, and you need to identify, just on one sheet in that department. We can help you with that as well. Um, for us, creating a culture of safety is a part of our on-site hand safety program. So um, because it addresses all those safety controls, not just PPE. We really want to help those safety managers eliminate as many hazards as possible before hand protection decisions are made. This saves workers from preventable injuries, it saves money, and it makes it easier for workers to do their jobs efficiently. So, if you have one or many of these things going on that we had talked about um, throughout this process, we can help. So, it's not a one size fits all. That's why we ask for a questionnaire kind of stating, okay, here's where I'm at now. And where can we get to? Where are we looking? Because we can help make it more robust and then just offer that partnership. So if you do have any additional questions or you do have a new process, or maybe a new glove, came into your purview and you just want to make sure that that glove is safe on the floor, that's the kind of partnership that you could expect when working with Superior Glove. So if you have any questions, we will be sending out a email within a few days of this. So you'll have that email on how to reach out to me. But I also have my email that I'll put up on the screen here. Um, but if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Kate, for this wonderful presentation and for sharing your insights with us. Before we start the Q&A, we want to remind everyone of the evaluation survey we're asking you to complete. The survey will open in a different screen after this webinar. Your input is important because it does help us improve our future webcast. Yeah, as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please hit the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, type your question, and press send. We do have a few questions here. First, how do I schedule a hand safety program for my company?
So you can reach out to me at the email address on the screen. And we will also be sending out an email within the next few days with any information you may need in that email.
Our next question, is there a cost to this hand safety program?
So there is no cost to the program, and we work with your current distributors. So whoever's currently supplying you with your gloves, we can work through them to provide the program as a value add and at no cost.
Our next question, we work through certain distributors. Can this be accommodated?
We do work with the majority of distributors that are out there, and depending on the case scenario, we can work with you on that. But most safety PPE distributors are working with us.
Uh, Next question, have you noticed a greater awareness of hand safety over the years?
Yes. um, Especially within heavy manufacturing. And I'm really thinking that this is happening too because of the innovation that's going on right now, just like with your cars or your phone or your computers. Things are just getting better and better. And whereas before, if you wanted A9 cut protection, you'd need to wear something close to a baseball mitt to achieve that. We have a product that's out now that is it's a 21 gauge and it's super, super thin, barely thicker than a disposable nitrile glove that offers A9 protection. So I think that, between injuries that are happening and, the newer workforce that's coming in and innovation, I really think these are being brought forth because of those reasons.
Just as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and press send. Next question, in your experience when dealing with senior employees, what is the best approach to get them more involved?
So, bringing information, like I had mentioned throughout this process today, the webinar today, and showing them, they don't have the time to, have the opportunity to walk through the plant as often as they'd like. Um, so making sure that you have those pictures, that you have those reports, that you have evaluations from employees, and that you could explain that to them effectively within an hour. Making sure that you can go to them and it's all encompassing, and then you can say, okay, this is what's going to help change our safety culture. I think that's really important, and that's one of the ways you can help support them is, time management. And if all that can be done and presented to them in a clean and concise way, then I think that that can really help with involvement.
Our next question, do you have a puncture-resistant glove with good dexterity, specifically for handling cats for an animal shelter?
So no glove is ever puncture proof. I have cats myself, and I can attest to this. But there are gloves that have great dexterity and have very high puncture rating. So there's two different types of puncture. There's hypodermic, and then there's like large object. So you might want to go to like a hypodermic style glove, and and then not all gloves are rated the same. So even with hypodermic puncture, which you may want again for those claws, some manufacturers only do palm, and then other manufacturers have 360 all around the hand. So it just depends on what you're looking for, but there are gloves out there in the industry that can help with cats.
Our next question, employees don't understand the ANSI numbers. Is there an easy way to convey what those mean?
Yes, so we actually have a ANSI cheat sheet, and this is one of the questions I get a lot, and I send these out once you contact me by email. I can send you that cheat sheet out, um, and it really helps them understand. Okay, this is what it is from 1 to 9, and these are the different industries that they're used. That's one of the ways to do it. You can train on one sheet. But we also can come in and do training for you. So again, on maybe a safety week or a toolbox talk, you could have one of us come in and train on ANSI standards. We'd be happy to do that.
Our next question, how do you address concerns related to believing that some PPE can create risk over time with wear and use?
I'm not sure of that question, but I mean, so if you're looking at like abrasion, you have to make sure that the abrasion's the right abrasion for the task. So with wear and use, um, training around, okay, when do I get rid of that glove? So I've seen when I've been onto a lot of sites where I'm looking at a glove and it's unraveling, or I'm looking at a glove and it's delaminating, or there's holes in a glove. Um, those are the things that again around the whys of wearing gloves and training around that, making sure that employees know that to get rid of those gloves at the right time. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question correctly, but if I'm not, please feel free to reach out to me and we can go into more detail.
Our next question, I've been looking for a glove that can handle lubricants without becoming slippery or wearing out quickly. The glove must also have high cut resistancy while maintaining dexterity. Do you know of anything that fits the requirements? Currently using cowhide gloves that need to be thrown out 3 or 4 times a day.
Yes, we have gloves that can fit that. Feel free to reach out to me and I can help you with that.
Our next question, how would you do a trial on gloves where 90% of employees are out in the construction field?
So we've done many construction sites. It just depends on who the owner is, and we'd be, like I said, we've done several of those. So we physically go out onto sites, and work with the different areas, whether it be electricians or the plumbers, or the people laying the pipe. We'll go out there and do that, and then we'll come back, in a week or so and collect those gloves so that you have the data.
Our next question, we encounter a mentality of you must keep your head down, don't say anything, don't make a problem. Any recommendations on how to approach this?
So, one of the things that I've seen recently, and I just wanted to bring it up, is QR codes. So, if because and it all depends on your cell phone use, but they can use the QR codes. It doesn't have to be on the floor, but self-reporting and using those self-reporting tools, and it's not going back to any one person, they're anonymous. um, any of the sites that I've gone to that have started using those QRs about self-reporting, It could be a self-reporting on something they'd like to see happen. They're being proactive, or something that they've, seen that is happening and they need some help with. And it's all anonymous. That is one of the tools, again, recently in the last couple years that I've seen has really helped with safety culture, because it's anonymous and it also allows them to be proactive. And one of the reasons our program has been so successful is working with the end users. Instead of being told they have to wear a certain glove, now they're being actively engaged in the process. So with the QR codes, they can be doing the same thing. It's just that it's an anonymous part of that. And I've seen great success with those.
Our next question, what can we do to bridge the gap between worker safety versus comfort? In some instances, like food safety, some employees complain about wearing disposable gloves over their safety gloves.
So there are gloves that are in the market now that are extremely thin. So instead of again wearing a mitt, it's incredibly thin and incredibly dexterous, versus wearing something all day where your hand is sweating and you're not feeling, you can't feel what you're doing. Um, these gloves can be kept on all day. So they're not being thrown away. They're not, there's something that can be on all day, and there also can be used in food safety. So we have several different colors to be used in food safety, but the biggest thing is that comfort factor. So when you can get a thin gauge glove on somebody's hand, they're just going to want to wear that so much more than they do something that's, much thicker.
Just as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, click the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, type your question and press the send button. I was curious myself, what are some common situations in which a hand safety program needs to be tweaked or revamped?
So like work instructions would be one. So not having a specific glove called out, and I don't mean a specific glove meaning superior glove, specific glove. I mean that template that I was talking about. Making sure that in the language of your work instructions, whether they be JSAs, SOPs, JHAs, that glove is called out specifically in that template form. I need an A4 cut, level 2 impact on the back of the hand, level 3 abrasion. Um, that's one of the instances that I can see when I go out onto sites, um, when we're actually asking the questions on the questionnaire, is, how robust is that? The other thing that I see when I go in is there's no signage around gloves, or hand safety. So those are the two things that I would probably highlight.
Another question I was curious about, are there glove policy guidelines, best practices, or template resources that you would recommend?
It all depends, on the particular situation. So I could be looking at two different manufacturers or two different manufacturing sites within that same manufacturer, and it's going to be different. So it all depends on safety culture, what they're used to using. Maybe it's a different type of machinery they're using in a couple different areas. So it's really hard to dial it in. But there are many, many resources on our website. If you go to superiorglove.com, and we have, hundreds of different points of resources on how you can get the right glove in there for the right task.
Now, once again, if you'd like to ask a question, click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type your question and press send. Um, yeah, as we kind of get toward the end here, any final thoughts, anything left unsaid?
No, I just would like to thank everybody for being online with us today. And please feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you might have, whether it be on training, if you just want a site visit, or if you truly want to look into a more robust hand safety program, we're willing to help you out there as well.
Would you like to wait a little bit for more questions, or would you like to wrap it up here?
I think we're good as long as
Yeah,
everyone knows they can reach out to me at the email address on the screen.
good deal. Well, thank you so much to our awesome presenter, Kate Crespo, the entire team from our sponsor, Superior Glove, and of course, all of you who joined us today. Take care and have a safe day.